Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session here today, going from Going from idea to app with no coding using AppSheet. It's going to be great. We have a lot of content to cover. We have 8 demos. That's a lot of demos. So we're going to go through the intro part really quickly so you can get to that very exciting demo. My name is Rachel Goodman Moore. I should not hit my mic any more than I already have. And I'm a product manager here at Google Cloud.
And I'm Arthur Rallu, also a product manager at Google Cloud. So we're going to share with you about AppSheet and especially some new and recent development on the platform.
So as I said, we're going to go through this sort of context setting part really fast. That includes going through the agenda really fast. But we are breaking the session up into 5 parts. You can see them on the slide here. First, we're going to talk about challenges. Some of the challenges we often see businesses face, maybe even businesses like yours, in their digital transformation. Next, we'll talk about what AppSheet is and how it hopefully helps address some of those challenges at scale. Sections 3 and 4 will get into those demos. We'll talk about what AppSheet does, sort of from an in-depth view. We'll actually see it happen, as well as some of the new capabilities that AppSheet has released. And at the end, we will hopefully put some of our IT friends' minds at rest and look at how we offer some unified controls for admin and security-focused folks. And hopefully, at the very end, we'll have some time left over for questions. So with that said, jumping right in. Now, if you are here at Next, you are probably very, very, very familiar with the concept of digital transformation, sometimes the challenging reality of digital transformation. Now, I would imagine in this room alone, there are probably hundreds of different types of businesses, hundreds of different types of organizations, hundreds of different types of deployments. And you all have hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, some logarithmic factor of unique business processes within your organizations, your own sets of requirements within your organizations for what it actually means to translate the work your teams do every day, the workflows your team takes on every day, the sort of individual magic that your teams lead every day, for translating all of those things into digital solutions. There are so many different solutions that need to be transformed, so many different tools that can possibly be used to do that. And the sheer magnitude, the sheer scope of the work of really taking not just the most visible processes, but some of the less frequently used ones or the more localized ones, like some of the ones you see on this slide. The concept of translating those into a fully cloud-based, fully digital solution can seem daunting, just based on the sheer number of opportunities and options that we must pursue.
So IT traditionally provides centrally distributed systems and solutions for your key workflows. So for example, you have a CRM system for your sales enablement. IT might also provide a content management solution if you have a lot of digital content. But there are a lot of other things that your teams need to do every day, but that falls outside of IT's purview. So some of these processes are here on the slide. Just to name 1 or 2, you have to do onboarding of new team members. Every team kind of like does that, right? If you're operating a facility, a building, you need to be able to manage maintenance requests, right? So these are the processes that we want to talk to you about, because that may be where there's like some gaps in your digital transformation strategy.
So let's talk a little bit more about those gaps. More often than not, we see when businesses have gaps in that overarching strategy, it comes from 1, 2, or maybe all 3 of these areas. At a really high level, not all teams, not all organizations, not all teams, and not even any individuals in your organization do things the same way. Every organization at the highest level has their sort of own unique way of doing things, their own special sauce, their own magic formula for getting whatever it is done that you need to get done. But taking a one-size-fits-all approach to a digital transformation strategy, buying one type of tool or 1 or 2 types of tools that are supposed to address all of these use cases kind of makes the assumption that all of the use cases are the same, that they are all standardizable. And that kind of misses the point. It kind of erases the uniqueness and the benefit that your organization gets from your unique way of doing things. And if anything, that makes digital transformation sort of an inhibitor to innovation and to velocity rather than something that can enable it. Building your own custom solutions to address all of those unique problems, kind of the only option if we're saying that a generalizable solution erases the benefit. Building those individual solutions is very expensive. Buying individual solutions to each of those problems that addresses your unique business needs is very expensive. We can maybe come up with a centrally managed solution for the most visible processes or the most common processes, or maybe those few that do kind of match business to business, but it doesn't work for that long tail of processes, some of the ones we saw on the slide before, the ones that probably are top of mind for us when we're talking about, or when I'm talking about, like, what's that unique thing that your business does? It's hard to capture all of those with a single unified tool or one or two tools to address your overarching business optimization needs. So what happens? Without solutions here, these long tails of solutions, without solutions here, these long tails of opportunities, of problems, of business processes that need to be translated into workflows, they don't get solved. They either go under-digitized, or you sort of put half of it in the cloud and leave the other half on paper, or you leave half of it in one tool and the other half of it in the other tool. They don't get solved, or they don't come up with solutions that actually increase their velocity, the velocity of your organization or the processes that you need to do to get your magic done. And that means that your business gets left behind when it comes to its digital transformation efforts. So how do we fix that? What do we do about that? What type of capabilities do we offer to help you equip your teams with IT-approved solutions for addressing those multiple variations of processes that make your business the special one that it is? How do we solve this problem?
So you want to empower everyone within your organization with the tools so that they can build the solutions that they need, where and when they need them. And doing that means a couple of things. First, you need to give these tools to the right people, the people that know these processes best. And they are the process owners, the team members, and the problem solvers within your organization. And they're the relevant people because in the end, they're the one dealing with the processes and the issues that are associated with them. Most importantly, you need to give them tools that make sense to them, that are intuitive to use, usable by them, but also that are adapted to their needs. And remember, their job is not about software development or IT. It's about running and owning these processes. So it's really important. Now, the second point is probably that you need to give them a tool that lets them build solutions that work in their environment. And their environment is, generally speaking, your business, right? So that means it uses it, and it connects to your data. And it means also that the solutions need to work in the ways and places that these teams are working. So that can be, in a web browser on a laptop, but that could be a mobile app, maybe being even offline. Or that can be them using email, chat, or Google Docs. So in the end, what you want really is a tool that really is going to complement the unique needs of your business and not something that's going to work against it.
And not to make things even harder, but you also need a tool that offers IT control and visibility of what all of these solutions are that we're now empowering anyone to create and that are now accessible on multiple surfaces within a business. You need a solution that can provide solutions that are safe and secure and in compliance with your unique environment's needs, while still, again, doing all the things we mentioned, enabling anyone to build the solutions that they need to solve their business problems. So doing all three of those things, empowering business process owners, non-technical business process owners, to build the solutions to the problems that they know best, letting them do it without requiring a computer science degree or even the need to write a single line of code, and doing all of those things in a way that doesn't make IT's heart race any faster than it may already be racing at this point in the day. That's the solution that AppSheet offers. Now, before we talk about why and look at how, I want to actually back up a little bit and ask maybe a question we should have asked already, but that is, what is AppSheet anyway?
Well, AppSheet is Google's no-code app development platform, and it enables users to rapidly build solutions and automate processes without code. So let's look a little bit deeper, right? How does it work? Well, if your app creators already have data, they simply need to connect their app to that data. And that data could be living in a SQL database, for example, but it could also be even just in a Google Sheet. The only requirement really is that the data is organized as a table. So each row represents a record, right? And each column represents a data field. That could be name, address, price, things like that. Once that's done, the app creators have access to what we call the AppSheet Editor that lets them essentially customize the application that they have created. And the important part is that this AppSheet Editor is no code, so they don't have to write any line of code. They essentially select customization among a large set of rich features. And yeah, that's just the basic of AppSheet.
Now, if you're one of the 10 million paying Workspace customers or 3 billion worldwide users, AppSheet is the no-code development tool of choice for really tapping into the extensibility of the Workspace platform as a whole. Now, on the screen, you can see sort of some canonical Workspace apps. You see at the bottom there is Gmail and Calendar and Drive and Docs, so on and so forth. And on top of that, or connected to it, that's what the arrow is meant to show. Connected to it are AppSheet apps that actual customers have built on top of these Workspace tools. Now, what do I mean by on top of? Well, by using some of these tools as data sources or extending the capabilities of those tools by making them available via an app or perhaps triggered by an automation that one has configured to run in that app, you can, as an app creator, build a whole bunch of things beyond a sheet or a doc or a calendar, so on and so forth. You can build some of the things we see on here. These are common examples of real apps: health assessments, inventory management, quote creators, field delivery. I'm not going to read the slide. You can read the slide. The point being, if you take anything away from this slide and this section of the presentation, it's that what AppSheet really does is it allows you to bundle together the functionality, the data, from one or a few or maybe even multiple of the tools that you have access to as a part of Workspace, or even in the greater GCP ecosystem, Google Cloud ecosystem, or even beyond the walls of Google. Bundle those things together to build the custom solutions to your business process problems. So, we've talked about what AppSheet is. We've talked about a little bit, sort of at a high level, how it integrates with Workspace. Now let's see it in action. We have a whole bunch of demos. As I mentioned, I think we have 8. So let's jump into the first one and see what AppSheet can really do. Arthur?
Thank you, Rachel. So let's take the example of Mary and her team who are managing a corporate office building, okay? The team is responsible for operations, maintenance, cleaning, even security and energy management. One of the processes that her team wants to improve on is managing the maintenance requests. They're submitted by people who work in the building, right? And today, that process is kind of like ad hoc and manual. And as a result, well, sometimes it just takes longer than it should to fix an issue or even to investigate it. Right? Additionally, the team in general, Mary herself, but the team members as well, have little visibility on like the progress of these issues and resolving these issues. So we're going to take a look at what an AppSheet solution could look like, and we're going to look at it from the perspective of, from 2 perspectives. First, from a staff member, and then after that, from Mary herself. So if you're a staff member, you're kind of like on the go, in the building, probably, right? You're not working in a set office, and you need access to a mobile app. So that's what we're going to show you here. So yeah, there. So let's say I'm working in the building, and I'm going to get a notification about an issue. So I get paged in some sense. And here you can see that there's a high priority issue. You can get the idea that there's a water leak in the kitchen. When I click on it, I get access to all the information in the AppSheet app right there. And you can see that there's a quick action button at the top that says start work that allows me to kind of like, update the status of that task as soon as I'm on top of it.
So everything you're showing us is built in AppSheet. The notification, the app, the button, it's all AppSheet.
Correct.
Okay.
And now I just clicked on that other quick action button to close the issue. And you can see that the app is asking me to provide a little bit more information so that we can document the case. Some comments, but also an image in this case. Okay? And at the end, you can see that the issue is marked as resolved, and I can move on to my next task if any is assigned to me. So now let's take a look at the perspective for Mary, right? She's a manager, and she needs to get status updates. So she's working a lot in emails, right? And thanks to AppSheet, she's receiving email updates for the high priority issues. So you have one example here, and she has access to really all of the information that is in the application itself. You can see that the status of that task is now in progress. And so that allows her to understand what's happening without even having to open an app, right? Here you can see that Mary's getting another email update, and same, all of the information is right there. The point here that is important maybe is all of this is provided by the AppSheet solution. In this case, these are automation bots. So for those of you who are not familiar with AppSheet, we're going to go through a very quick demo of what it looks like. How is the app creation experience?
And how you actually built that app we just saw, right?
We're just going to stay at the high level concept.
Okay,
we're not going
right.
to go through all the details.
It's a really cool app. I really love it. That's all.
So as I mentioned earlier, getting started with Google Sheet is a great way to start. You can see here that I have the data organized in a table. Each row is a maintenance issue. The one at the bottom says water leak in the kitchen, which I just showed you earlier. And then each column is a data field, like title, ticket owner, and so on. Right from there, I can go and create the app.
This is just a normal sheet, right? You're just in Sheets, and then you clicked on that button in the nav, and now it's created an app.
And that gets me to the AppSheet Editor. On the right side of the AppSheet Editor, you have the app. It is the actual app. It's working. And on the left, you have the settings that control what the app looks like and what it can do. And so here, as an example, I think that the UI, the user interface of the app is not very friendly for the staff members. They should be able to see a number of important fields about each of the maintenance requests. And so I can change that right from there in the settings on the left. And as soon as I make a change, this is reflected on the right in your app. So with these 3 short videos, we've showed you how you can get a mobile app, in-app notifications for the staff members, but also Gmail support for the manager, all of that provided by AppSheet and its no-code app editor.
So cool. I love it. I love it. And one of the things I really want to emphasize is that you got all of those capabilities without needing to write any code. You got it simply by clicking on Create App, and it all sort of came with AppSheet. You didn't need to configure a bunch of other things and say, I want to enable this, and I want to enable that, and I want to get access to this thing. It all gets created for your use, if you choose to use it, sort of out of the box. Okay, so that is what is available in AppSheet today. That's sort of the high level of how AppSheet works today. I want to shift gears a little bit now and talk about what's new in AppSheet. And we're going to talk about what's new from 2 different perspectives. The first is going to be the perspective of the person creating the app creator. And then the second we'll go to is the perspective of the app user, the person who's actually using the thing that is created. So Let's start with what's new for app creators. Now, we're going to talk through these things. They're cool. I'm excited for them. Hold your horses here. We're going to talk about them at a really high level. We're going to talk about some details about them, and then we will see a demo. So as we're going through them and you're like, when am I going to see it? When am I going to see it? Just know that I'm going to talk through 3 things, and then you will see the demo. With that context in mind, what are those 3 things? Well, first, as Arthur showed, I don't know, a minute ago, it is pretty easy to go ahead and create an app, even directly from a Google Sheet. You plug in your data source, you get an app a few minutes or a few seconds later, and if you choose to customize it, you can actually get a deployed solution a few minutes later. But you did need to have that data source. You started with a data source. You started with a table that had the headers and the columns, and it sort of organized the way you needed it to be. What if AppSheet gave you no-code tools for not just the app customization part of the process, but really the entire end-to-end journey of translating your business process, the thing you do every day that may or may not be in a table, translating that into a real, functioning, complete application? What if you could build an app simply by describing in your own words what the business process problem or opportunity is that you're looking to address?
Well, I guess you can already today, thanks to TwitAI and AppSheet.
Yay!
So you've heard already about TwitAI a lot. So TwitAI and AppSheet is really about offering a whole new way for AppSheet creators to build their own solution. Right? Simply by using natural language. TwitAI harnesses the power of Google's AI models, and it simply lets you describe in your own word, or in your own words, the process that you want to digitize. And it's going to take that information and transcribe it into app requirements and create an initial app so that you can review it and then further customize it. So it's pretty simple. You start with a description in your own words of the process. You have probably a couple of clicks. We're going to see that a little bit later, and maybe a few questions to answer. And you get to an app within minutes. So this is starting to roll out in a couple of weeks, and it will be available to all Workspace customers with the core AppSheet licenses.
Very exciting. Okay, as I promised, we will get to that demo in just a minute, but before we do that, 2 other things I want to mention, starting with, well, how do you customize that app that was just created? Well, there's a lot of tools available in AppSheet right now to customize it, but I want to highlight some changes, some improvements, dare I say, we've made to the AppSheet Editor tool with the advent of visual editing, which is really the introduction of true point-and-click editing of applications. And we think this was really important and, dare I say again, essential for us to provide to our business users who don't want to go write code, who don't want to go searching through lots and lots and lots of customization options, and instead want true point-and-click access to be able to update the look and feel and functionality of their apps. So this is available now as well. The last thing I'm going to mention before we get into the long-awaited Duet demo is AppSheet databases. And given the importance of a quality data source, or a data source in general, in order to actually get a successful app out the other side, I would be remiss if we didn't mention AppSheet databases and what it provides there. So AppSheet Databases is our built-in data source for app building. It is a purpose-built solution to power all of your AI-backed apps, and it reaps the scalability and sync times that come from being built off of Cloud Spanner. Altogether, it makes working with your tabular data easier than ever, which we're going to see in the demo coming so soon. Sorry, that was a bit of a false start there, but it is coming really soon. The only other thing I want to mention about AppSheet Databases before we actually see it is that while it's excellent now and we're excited to have it available for all of you, we are making it even better coming soon with some scalability and performance improvements to increase table size. So as I said, it's generally available to all AppSheet plans. And now, without further ado, said demo. Arthur, show us these features in action.
All right. So TwitAI in AppSheet is currently available through a chat app. So that's what I'm going to show you to get started. And In the meantime,
we plan the spinner just to like really drum up the enthusiasm for it.
All right, so TwitAI in AppSheet is asking me right from the start what I would like to have as an app. And so I can describe in my own words what I want. I'm trying to reproduce the maintenance request app. And you can see that TwitAI, based on my description, was able to organize the data into staff, employees, and maintenance requests. And for maintenance requests, it's suggesting that we're going to keep track of title, description, employee ID, and so on. Now, when I look at this, there's a couple more fields that I would like to have there. Like, I want to make sure like we have a resolution date and a priority. So I'm asking TwitAI to take care of that. And it is adding it. One thing that I don't like here, I see the priority is a number. You know, numbers are never like a good thing, like which one is the highest priority, 1 or 10. So we'll fix that in a second. So I've got my app here represented. I think I like what I'm seeing, but I'm going to review all of these fields for the maintenance request. Title here shows as if it's a number, so that doesn't make sense to me. I want this to be a text, so I'm going to change that. Description is fine. Employee ID is a little special. It's linking to another table, the employee table that we saw earlier. So that's what this is doing. Created at shouldn't be a number. I want this to be a date or a date time, right? Status, I don't want this to be a number. I'd rather this be something that my users select among multiple options. So there's an option for that right there.
And you're still in chat, right? You are literally having a chat with the AppSheet app that is building this app for you and asking you these options, letting you configure it.
Correct.
So cool. OK.
So for priority and status, TwitAI is recognizing that it's missing some information. It doesn't know what kind of values I want to, or options I want to authorize. And so I'm specifying this right there. Priority is like high, medium, low, instead of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever it is. Shows me these changes. They look good, so I'm going to accept that. And I'm back, again, to the summary card here. So data looks good. I know what I'm going to see and what I want to keep track of. I'm going to move to the next step, which is adding notifications. And I can see that I can get updates by email for these different tables, and I definitely want to be aware of changes in maintenance requests. So I'm going to select that, say. OK? It seems like I can create my app, so I'm going to do that right now. So TwitAI kind of like guided me a little bit to gather the information that's needed, and it's going to then translate that into app requirements, and now it's going to build me my app. And it's going to essentially drop me into the AppSheet Editor, where I'm going to be able to continue on customizing it. So here it is. On the right, this is the app. Oh, yeah. So one last thing that TwitAI did for me is creating some mock data. So it's not my data, right? But the data is contextual to my app, maintenance request, and all of these seems to be.
These are things I would want to repair.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are repairable things. Mm-hmm.
So now as a business user, I may not be familiar with the interface. And at this point, I think it's easier to like point at what I want to change. And so here I can do exactly that. I can see what my options are. And here I selected edit the view. And so on the left, what happened is that all of my settings for this view were brought up. And I can make those changes. And this is exactly the same thing that I showed you in one of the earlier demo. So let's look at a different view. This is a detailed view that shows all of the information for a given record. Well, in this case, let's just say that the order of the information is not great for my staff members. I want them to be able to see information in a certain order that makes sense. Status and priority are pretty important to see, right from the get-go. So this is how you can customize, the app using visual editing. Now let me show you a little bit about the AppSheet Database and its user interface. So as Rachel said, a lot of the benefits of traditional databases, but here you can see that the UI, the interface, is a lot more familiar. It's a lot more to, we really want to cater to business users, process owners. And you can see that this information here, all these maintenance records, are the same ones that we showed you earlier.
So this was created for you by the interaction you had in chat. It just sort of deduced that you needed this information, built the table for you, and now you have all of these options for configuration.
Correct. I can change how to group the records. I can even change the value, edit the data, right there through a drop-down. And one more thing that this powers is any change in the database gets immediately reflected in all of the applications. And so therefore, all of the staff members are always in sync.
Oh my goodness, it is so cool. I am so excited that we can share with you all today these changes, these improvements to the app making process to make it even more accessible for anyone who is looking to create an app to do so with the power of Duet AI. Now, I want to talk about some of the changes that we are bringing to the apps that are created themselves. So we talked about the creator experience, now let's switch over to the end user experience. Now, we talked at the beginning of this session we have here together, our time here together, talked at the beginning about how it's really important in order for a process digitization, in order for the digital version of a process, in order to be picked up, used, beneficial, all that good stuff, that it has to actually look like and act like and be in the places that your business users want it to be. It has to meet users where they are. Now, getting those solutions that are created to people where they actually work, in their offices on a laptop, or maybe on a larger screen size, or perhaps in chat, or email, or docs, or even in the field on a mobile app, and perhaps even a mobile app that is offline, that doesn't have online access. Getting an app to all those places is essential in order for it to actually be a replacement to the paper version of the process, in order for it to actually work for users. So I want to talk about some of the ways that AppSheet has been improving and adding new capabilities to the way we are able to help meet your users where they are. We're going to talk about 3 different ways we're doing this. I'll talk through all 3, and then our pattern will stay the same, and then we'll sort of see it via a live demo. So way number one, modality number 1, let's call it that, desktop UI. So a few minutes ago, we saw when we were building an app as well as using that app, we saw sort of a mobile view of that app. It looked a little bit smaller, a little bit narrower, perfect for a mobile device. We also have been hard at work on improving the desktop UI, or the desktop view of apps, which effectively means that apps now look better than ever, run better than ever, give more real estate for viewing data than they did before. So you can now use your apps on larger screen sizes, and they will work and perform just as beautifully as they do on mobile. And very importantly, you get access to this. Everything gets a desktop view out of the box. So when you create an app, it has both a mobile view and a desktop view built in. You don't have to configure anything to get it to work. Next one, chat apps. So speaking of AppSheet, automatically configuring multiple places you can view apps, chat is another place we are making your apps run without really any work on your part. So if you've been following us closely, you'll know that this is not a totally new announcement, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention it here, because I do think it's such a powerful way of getting users access to apps, or app-based solutions, perhaps is a better way of saying it, in the context of the work that they're already doing. Not making them go back to AppSheet or go back to a mobile app or a desktop app to interact with the capabilities, but actually get it directly where they're doing their work. And in this case, that is in chat. So what a chat app is an AppSheet view that is configured to run in chat, and is configured to run in chat without any configuration in GCP whatsoever. So if you've built chat apps before, you know it's sometimes a lengthy process to get chat apps to run in your domain internal environment. The chat app process for AppSheet involves a single click to get your AppSheet app to run in chat. So we're very excited about that, and you should give it a try if you haven't yet. The last one I'm going to mention before we go to that long-awaited demo is docs. Now, desktop and chat are very useful surfaces to interact with AppSheet apps. Sure, but they're not the end of the story. So we have been hard at work in making AppSheet apps run better and run overall in ways that align with the needs of those 3 billion Workspace customers we mentioned just a few minutes ago. So smart chips were mentioned in the session before this, if you happen to catch it, and you may have used smart chips before. They're those little chips that you see when you paste data into a doc, a date chip, or if you embed a slide view, you'll see the little slide convert to a chip, and then there's some data unfurled about it beneath. They really give you sort of the context of the thing that you're looking at. We are very excited to share with you all today that we are hard at work in making AppSheet views configured to run with smart chips as well. So you will be able to include an AppSheet link, a link to an AppSheet view in a doc, and it will convert itself magically, into a smart chip, where you will see the styling, sure, but you'll also get to unfurl the data and see the detailed view of the actual information that you've posted in, so that you can get that contextually relevant view of whatever app it is that you happen to have included.
All right, demo time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We're going to start with Google Chat. Mary's team, right, you remember, Mary was getting updates by email. Let's look at what it can be with Google Chat and how they interact with the chat app. So this is going to start inside a space, a chat space that Mary created for her whole team. Okay. So first, this is their space, facility maintenance chat. And whenever there's an update to a high priority issue, they get the update right there. It's available to everyone. And once again, all of the information is provided right from here. One thing that I like about this setup is that, if something comes up, if I need to follow up for some reason, there's a chat space where I can ask questions to my teammate. And that kind of information about where's the repair toolkit, maybe that doesn't need to be in the app. So it's pretty convenient. Everything's in one place, but it all makes sense. And here, people just received another update about the issue that was now resolved. And again, you can see all of the information, including pictures, right from there. So Mary is getting her update here, but she can also call the app and say, look at the data. Maybe there are some high priority tickets that she's not aware of. So she's going to check from right there. And you can see that there's a number of items here. And there's a new one, the first one, soap in the bathroom. So she's going to check what it is. Again, all of the information is available right there. It's a safety issue. Someone might slip, and it's not assigned. So Mary can just do that right from there. The ticket owner should be someone else. So she's going to assign it to Miles. And she can go through all of the different issues, whether they're high priority or unassigned. But she can do that right from there instead of having to jump into a specific app. Now, staff members use mobile devices a lot, but Mary, maybe at the end of the week when she needs to review all of the issues that were solved, would rather work on a laptop. And so we're going to show you here a really, really short demo of what the UI looks like on a web browser. And here you can see the information is organized. At this point, she's looking at the tickets that were resolved in the last 7 days. She can filter to look only at the high priority issues. The water leak, again, is there. She has a preview, but if she wants more detail, she can dive into it and really see all of the available information. And maybe the point that is important is the app, on desktop web browser comes, there's no difference with the mobile app. You just create one app and you have both, essentially. Let's now talk about how AppSheet is going to work with Google Docs. So let's imagine that, I have to write an escalation report to someone. Mary has to. And she's providing a lot of information in a document, but she also wants to make sure that the data in the app about the specific issue is reflected. So when she clicks, or when the reader clicks on the smart chip, they'll be able to have access to all of the data about that record. Again, you can see everything right from there. And the data will be refreshed if there are changes. Now, how do you create that smart chip? Well, it's pretty simple. You just copy-paste the URL to the view from your web browser, press Tab, And there you have it.
I'm glad
That's
it
the
converts.
escalation ticket.
That was a big URL.
Yeah, that would have been too much.
Glad it converts. That's nice. That's very nice.
So again, all of the information is there. And then the one nice thing, like maybe at the bottom you can see approve and reject buttons. The reader, they don't need to go to the app. They can just do that right from the Google Doc.
Love it. Thank you, Arthur. So we've shown you lots of ways that we are making it easier for creators to create apps, lots of ways that users can interact with apps where they are doing their work. I want to finish our demo-filled presentation here today with something new that we want to share with you all about how we are hopefully using AI to make it easier for users to interact with those apps as well. So I'm going to sort of intro that by way of example. A minute or two ago, we heard about Arthur, the repair person, going to fix the sink, the leaky sink, as a maintenance repair person. We're so grateful to you for doing that. However, I imagine typing into your mobile device on your app with your gloves on, because you probably wear gloves to repair a leaky sink, and you've been like fiddling with the wrench and everything. It's hard. It's hard to make all those little clicks and to type all the little letters. It would be great if you could just maybe like talk to your app and say, here's the information I want to capture, or here's what I'm noticing, or here's the thing I need to make happen, and not have to take off your gloves and do all the fiddling and make all that happen. Which is basically exactly the feature that I'm very excited to announce now. To be a little bit more concrete about what it is, we at AppSheet are very happy to share with you unstructured data capture. So what this does is it does kind of exactly what I just said. It allows you to take spoken audio, and AppSheet will transcribe it, parse it, and validate it, then input it into the form fields in your app that you have created. And from there, it's normal app data. It will trigger any automations that you have created. It will sync across all users. And it will work just as if Arthur, the repair person, had typed in all the individual changes himself. However, it got there because a user was just naturally speaking in natural language to the app. So this is one of those that's best seen. So let's look at a final recorded demo here.
Yeah. So I want to create an escalation ticket, and there are fields like request, reason. I could put a lot of information there, and I don't want to type it because there are more fields below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call TwitAI and tell it what I want it to populate it with.
This is for an escalation. I'm requesting that we contact the landlord ASAP and let them know about the issue. The reason is I expect fixing this will require some significant work, the landlord approval, and an assessment by their insurance. We mitigated the issue by shutting off the water supply on the area right above. I'll follow up by September 1st.
So I just said what I wanted it to record, right? And now TwitAI is analyzing that information, extracting the relevant information and putting it in the fields that I had: current mitigation, request, follow-up date, and reason. And that UI allows me to double check all of that information is correct, right? It didn't like extract something wrong. And now I'm back to the form, and I can see that some fields are missing. Maybe I didn't specify them. And that's it. Save, and I'm done. So yeah, TwitAI should help also in AppSheet apps.
It is so cool. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is real. I can't believe this is real life. It is so cool to see that in action, and especially for folks with field workers or sort of on the floor use cases, I think that is going to be incredibly, incredibly useful. Now, before we wrap up here, I know we are almost at time. I just want to say one or two words about why all of this citizen development and access to business data to sort of update it real time, synced across all devices, should not be deeply terrifying to all of our IT folks in the room and all of our folks focused on compliance and security and governance, because AppSheet has been built from the ground up with governance and security and scalability in mind. We do this across 4 areas: security, governance, management, and monitoring, and we have multiple features in each of those areas that help you, from an IT perspective, establish a governed ecosystem, control shadow IT, protect data via policies, robust policies, and usage monitoring, and give access to audit logging as well. All of this together allows you as IT to feel comfortable empowering your creators to build solutions, build applications on top of business data that are secure and compliant, and free you all up to do the mission-critical work at hand. We've made this easier than ever to understand and get access to and use via this enterprise toolkit, which is available on appsheet.com right now. It has a bunch of templates and decks and trainings and things like that to help our IT-focused folks to get a better sense of how to actually do this within your own AppSheet deployments. Now, I want to wrap up here very quickly. I do see the folks in the back of the room being like, oh my gosh, quicker, quicker. So I'm going to do that. But next steps, very, very briefly here. How do you actually get access to all this stuff? If you're not AppSheet customers today, oh, what do? How do you use these tools that we've talked about here and the ones you'll find online? I am excited to share with you all that we have done the work to give almost everyone in Workspace access to an AppSheet subscription. So previously, if you didn't have an AppSheet subscription available to you through your Workspace entitlement, you did have to purchase one. However, in order to expand the availability of these tools to Workspace users and more creators, we're now including the AppSheet Core plan with almost all Workspace editions. So we're very excited about that. And if you want to learn more about AppSheet or any of the capabilities that we've talked about here today, or how we at AppSheet are with this core entitlement, making it, keeping security front of mind, please come and join us at any of the other sessions you see here. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of other times and places where we're talking about AppSheet. Come and join us down on the Hive floor. Talk to us in the showcase area. There are lots of places and opportunities to learn about AppSheet, and we would be glad to talk to you about any of the things we talked about here, or probably a whole bunch of things we didn't. So with that,
actually, if you want to try TwitAI features in AppSheet,
you can also do that.
Go to the Innovators Hive.
You can try it. Yeah. Real live in the flesh. It's going to be great. Okay, so with that said, thank you all for joining us here today.